Going live on YouTube. Fast forward maybe 30 seconds. It's 1:44 here in the East. We are live on YouTube and on Instagram, 1:45. Let's get going. Thank you for listening. This is Martinis with Scott, episode 147, just doing a midday touch base. I'm up here today in Coldwater, Ontario, Canada. Coldwater, Ontario, Canada, at one of my manufacturing facilities. Just visiting for today, probably tomorrow or Thursday as well. Hope everybody's having a great week. Anybody with us live on either Instagram or YouTube, please give a wave, say hello. Anything you want to talk about today, please let me know. As you know, we're on here most days, most weekdays, not every weekday, but most weekdays for 10, 15 minutes. But if you don't have a topic, I'm going to talk about intimidation. We had a listener question. The listener was referring to a story I told on Martinis with Scott a bunch of episodes ago. And I remember the story, and I think at the time, I couldn't recall, I don't think I got the story right. I think I was talking, I just didn't remember the context. But the point I was trying to make was about the value of a talent stack. And the idea there is that if you want to make a bunch of money, if you want to be super successful, there's two ways that you could go about it. One is you could be the world's best at one thing. You could focus, you could become the world's best basketball player, and you're going to make a fortune. You could be the world's best professional at tax law, and you're going to make a fortune, right? But what are the odds? What are the odds of you in particular, me, becoming the world's best at something? Maybe it's not very good. Maybe you can, maybe you have the talent, but maybe the odds aren't so good. Well, what's another way to make some money? Another way is to not be the world's best at one thing, but to know 80% of a bunch of different things, right? And the more that those things that you know 80% of are related, now you can start drawing on different skill sets, on different talents, and you bring a lot of value to the world. And this story was about that. And so the question was, it reminded me of the story and saying, where I was in front of let me give you the story and then I'll come back to what the question was. So I do remember the context now. I was younger, probably in my early 30s. And I was on a deal that I initiated. My firm had initiated at the time. Hey, Travel with Heller, thank you for joining us on the Instagram Live. And so I was dragged into a meeting on a potential deal, and I remember the funder was going to be General Electric, and I think the numbers were like $30 million, somewhere in that range. You know, something, and this would have been the early, mid-1990s, so it was a decent amount of money. They were going to fund a company that I was representing, like $30 million on an asset-based loan facility, so like a bank loan with a little twist. And they were going to take 10% equity kicker, so they're going to get 10% ownership in the company as part of their consideration for doing this loan. And again, the lender, General Electric, huge, sophisticated company. And so I've structured this transaction, and now I'm dragged into a law firm. And I think it was our own counsel, as I recall. I think it was McMillan Binch in downtown Toronto, as I recall. I may have that wrong. And it's just me, the kid, and a whole panel of lawyers who are experts in their field. And when I say that, when you're doing that sort of deal, think about the different disciplines of professionals that you have to have, of lawyers that you have to have. You have to have an asset-based lending lawyer, which is a whole different subset of banking law, because it's a unique product and you need to be an expert in it as a lawyer. You need banking lawyers, okay, because there's all sorts of other creditors involved. You need to know how to set it up and deal with the bank. Securities law, because the company, the lender was going to take a 10% equity interest in my client. And therefore, my client is issuing securities, and there needs to be securities regulation. There needs to be shareholders agreements. There needs to be all sorts of other issues, ways to get that stock back. General corporate law lawyer, tax lawyer. There's tax consequences for all of this stuff. This transaction is taking through multiple jurisdictions, so taking place in multiple jurisdictions in a bunch of different states and provinces. So you have to have these expertise in every one of those jurisdictions right? You need to know insolvency law because you need to know how you rank your security and how G is going to get their money back if something goes wrong. So that's just the lawyer side. That's just the lawyer side. So you get this whole sort of group of, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 lawyers with expertise in these various areas there to grill me. And so that was the story. And the story was that I'm not an expert. I'm not even a lawyer. I'm not an expert in any one of those areas, but I do know 80% of every one of those areas. Okay. And what the lawyers, how much securities law do you think a tax lawyer knows? The answer is 0. How much tax law does a securities lawyer know? The answer is 0. So there's your competitive advantage. That's what a talent stack is. You can draw 80%. You don't know all the 100% of the details. I walk around and I tell, I'm on a insolvency file. I go to the trustee and say, hey, I'm the 80% guy. I know 80% of what you're talking about. I don't know 20%. I don't know it. I'm just going to ask you. You tell me. You tell me the stuff that I don't know. But I have a general idea of where we're going, and I know more about a bunch of different things than you do. I don't say it in that way, but that's my value add to the situation. So the question put forward by our listener was, she said, I'm sure that these lawyers did not come together to intimidate you. But were you intimidated, and how do you not be intimidated? That was the essence of her question. Well, first of all, of course they came together to intimidate me. That was the entire point of the meeting, was to intimidate me and to show me how smart they are and that they're experts in their field and they need to make their money and lots of it because they're the best in the world at what they do. And I just don't know what they do. That's the whole point of the meeting. Every day you have somebody in business pitching you on something where they're an expert and you're not. That's an element of intimidation. It's an element of intimidation. They're trying to show that they know something and you don't know something, and it may be true and it may not be true, but intimidation is a part of that, and you just need to live with that. You need to accept that. So the trick is, how do you not be intimidated? I think that was the relevant part of the question, but 100% for sure, that was part of intimidation. So again, they're experts in asset-based lending, banking, securities, corporate law, tax, jurisdictional law, multi-jurisdictional cross-border transactions, and insolvency law. I'm not an expert in any of those things. You know what else they're not an expert in, though, that I'm an 80% expert in, or maybe even more than 80%? To do that deal, you need to know accounting. You need to know business valuation. You need to know cash flow. You need to know models and projections. You need to know borrowing bases and underwriting. Financial underwriting, risk management at a bank. I might be an expert more than 80%. I might be 90 to 95% in those particular areas. And these lawyers know nothing about that. To do this deal, you need to bring all of that together. Okay. And that's what a talent stack is. How do you not be intimidated? Know who you are and don't pretend otherwise. I know who I am. I'll tell you straight up front, I don't know 100% of insolvency law. In your I might know 80% in my jurisdictions that I work in, call it the 4, 5, 12 jurisdictions, but I don't know them in every jurisdiction. Maybe we're doing a deal in a jurisdiction I haven't been in. I know the principles of what restructuring insolvency are about, but I don't pretend to be something that I'm not. That's number one. Number two is know that you have value. The whole reason that you're in that room is you have value. Okay, so focus, to not be intimidated, focus on the value that you have. What got you in the room? Don't try to pretend something that you're not. Just know what you are, and know that if you sat down, hey, Rufus World, thank you for joining live on Instagram. And I think we're talking to you in about 10 minutes on our weekly Zoom meeting. Know that if you met Elon Musk, if I met Elon Musk today, if you met Elon Musk today, you got to know that there's things that you know that Elon doesn't. There's things that you're better at than he is. I can't imagine what they might be off the top of my head. They're probably more EQ than IQ. We can probably guess that, but you need to know who you are. You need to know that you have value, and you need to be confident in that value, and then you won't be intimidated. Be curious. Be curious. Ask questions. If I'm in that room with those, right? I'd be curious. Oh, why is that? Why do you say that? How does that work exactly? By the way, Mr. Securities Lawyer, have you thought about the tax guy over here? Because I don't think you're catching that, because they know nothing about the other. They're an expert in their silo. Be curious. Don't bullshit, right? You don't have to control the situation. That is the key to not being intimidated. Just let go. Just be who you are. Don't try to control the situation. Don't try to be the expert at everything. You're not. It's good enough to be 80% of a bunch of different stuff. That's the point of the talent stack. And the last thing, count your blessings. You always need to count your blessings, because if I met Elon Musk today, he might be really, really better than me at a lot of stuff, but I feed my family pretty well. We live a good life. I have nothing to be embarrassed about. You need to think that way. And that is how you're going to get over intimidation and fear. Much harder when you're a younger professional, which I think is where this question came from. I think I've been there, because when you're younger, you think you need to rule the world and control everything. And it's the opposite. You need to know what you know. You need to know what you don't know. And you need to seek value from others, and know what your value is applied to that situation. All right, I'm about to sign off. Any questions or comments on today's live stream? Anyone? All right, thank you so much for listening. We're going to try. I think I'm up here again tomorrow, so we'll try to touch base again. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.